show. You choose what we do.
So, while we're waiting for someone to decide what we're doing next,
I'm going to boil the kettle. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I'm going to throw something into the mix that did happen after the video that we did on Thursday or Friday with all of the WWE releases. There was quite a few names released. A lot of them was probably not, I wouldn't say expected, but there wasn't a big shock, apart from maybe Dolph Ziggler and probably Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, man. There was a huge release. There were several NXT releases after we finished filming that video that we did. However, there was one major release to talk about on the show, and that was our friend Matt Riddle gone from WWE. This was a bit of a shocker, Dan.
I don't think it was. If you've been reading what's been happening.
Okay, go on.
Supposedly, he's had a few issues in his personal life. And there's a lot of heat on him supposedly, so that's pretty much why he's being let go.
Yeah, well, apparently there's heat on him backstage. Obviously, he had that incident last week at, was it New York airport, where he was accusing someone of sexual molestation, and now he has been released. Now, one of the interesting things, Dan, for me in terms of this is that UFC in 2013 released Matt Riddle for failing several drugs tests. And what happened last week is there was a merger between WWE and UFC and the new TKO Endeavor-owned property. And straight away, Matt Riddle's fired. Do you think that this could have been something that was pushed on by the UFC?
I don't know if it would have been, because he was signed under a different contract at the time of his release on both companies. But I do think that it's very coincidental. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't think you can say that it was the reason. You can't say it wasn't the reason, but the timing of a lot of things do seem to match up quite well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because they're releasing, but if rumors are to be believed, Orton seems to be making a return soon. Now, surely a program with them, between them, building at Mania is money. It's money.
100%.
Right? 100%. And people would say Matt Riddle needs to win at Mania, but if you're releasing him anyway, you keep him under contract for the next 6 months, have him do Mania, have him take the loss to Orton, then get rid.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense? Like, that's a big WrestleMania match for Orton to win.
Yeah. I mean, you could have had either party win if Riddle obviously wasn't having issues, and it would still, both parties would feel like the winner of the match, not just in the metaphorical sense, but in the grander scale of everything. Riddle wins, that pushes him up that card quite easily.
But if they're getting rid of him, then you don't have to have him win. Is the point I'm getting at? You just get rid of, you make people think that Riddle's going to win, and then you give him Orton, which surprises everyone, and Orton comes across as the megastar that he is. Back again from that.
So I mean, I don't think that WWE again have played the thought about the long game. You had a massively great story, one of probably the best, most fun stories that WWE had over the past couple of years. With the RK Bro, because it was just such a chalk and cheese partnership. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
that it was one of my favorite parts of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and it was an entertaining. It was entertaining on TV every week. There was so over. That was the point. You know, there was this sort of unlikely duo, and instead of sort of ending that when you've got Orton ready to return, I really don't get it. And I do feel that there's been some bigger hands at work here, because Riddle's been a Triple H guy for years, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was Triple H that made him and brought him to NXT.
Yeah.
But it was Wrestling in Progress, I think, for a while before, and Evolve.
He was, yeah.
He was doing some really good work.
Well, that was him learning, you know. That was him learning how to adopt from his UFC style to his wrestling style. Sassy says Endeavor cleaning house due to possible Riddle being sued by Airport for posting an employee. Well, he did when he accused the the guards of molestation, he did send tweet out a photo of a random employee. Probably not the best thing to do if you're working for a company and looking at sorting things out legally. It's probably not the best thing to do to use your social platform for that.
Especially not when in 2020 he was one of the people that was actually named in the Speaking Out movement.
And that's correct, exactly. Yeah. So
a lawsuit against him was actually dropped. So it's a very practice what you preach, I think.
Could be, yeah, certainly could be. I'm not shocked Riddle is gone. His problems made him a target. Well, it's a shame, man. I mean, he's I don't know how many problems he had. I mean, clearly he smokes weed, but that's legal in most states in the US.
You don't even need to see him to know that.
Yeah, it's legal in most US states anyway now, Jeff Hardy 2.0, unfortunately. It's a damn shame that he is.
I do think that if he carries on the way he's going, it could be a very Jeff Hardy 2.0, but he's got plenty of time in his career if he wants to continue to make sure he doesn't follow Jeff's path.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Absolutely. Heard as well, Dolph was meant to get a new WWE deal soon before his release. It's mental that Dolph's gone, man. I mean, he was a stalemate of WWE for years,
Yeah.
And hey, I've never been a huge fan of Dolph. I don't particularly like the character. I think it's a bit bland. But in terms of ring work, he was putting guys over. He was always putting on entertaining matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not going to go to Dom's level and say that it was Shawn Michaels 2.0, but, he was a watered down Shawn Michaels.
If you put Shawn Michaels and him in a ring side by side, and they had the same setup and matches with a different opponent. So if you said Shawn Michaels versus Bryan Danielson, Dolph Ziggler versus Bryan Danielson, you could do exactly the same match for both performers. And in all honesty, I think Dolph sells the match better. I wouldn't say he's a great wrestler; he's a great seller.
Yeah, but he never had the character, man.
No, but if you're wrestling, you don't need to. You can sell for your opponent and make it look great. Shawn had the character, which is why Shawn was more of a main eventer.
Exactly, and Shawn could also sell. I mean, look at his stuff with Hogan. A lesson in selling right there. But I'm surprised.
And overselling.
And overselling. That's the one. Endeavored cleaning house. Could this affect Punk or Vince? In what aspect?
I think in terms of the Endeavor, if Punk's got a loss is going up with AEW with lawsuits, or if Vince is having lawsuits against him for his misconduct, maybe would Endeavor get rid of him or stop Punk even being considered?
I don't think they're considering Punk, man. I really don't. When you've got The Rock, John Cena, all potentially on your TV show, Roman Reigns, you do not need Punk.
No, not even slightly.
It is not the money that you think it is at all. No. He's not as big as them.
Not for this generation of WWE audience.
No, and not for the... He's gone into a company that was created based on the work that he'd done 15 years ago. That is where AEW's creation comes from the work that he was doing, from the work that Danielson was doing, from the work that Steen and Zayn were doing. That is where AEW's roots lie. And he goes into that company and is unable to act professionally, man. Like, how the hell is he going to do it in WWE? And for years, he didn't wrestle because he wasn't going back to WWE.
There wasn't anywhere that could afford what he wanted.
No.
And I mean, I look at it as Punk went into AEW because the people that was watching AEW was a very sort of, I wouldn't say old audience, but there was a older generation of audience. Myself, yourself, Dom, Sam. We looked at that and was like, this is what we want our wrestling to be.
Yeah.
And that's the style that CM Punk does.
Yeah.
But you look at WWE now, it's too focused towards sort of the younger generation. It's all about getting the kids to want the parents to buy tickets.
Yeah. I don't think he'd fit in with that style.
No. If we go to a wrestling show, we buy a ticket for me, we buy a ticket for you, Dom and Sam. We need 4 tickets.
Yeah.
If it was a WWE show, you've got the kids that you need to take, then yourself, so you've got double, then you've got the merchandise that all the kids will want. So it's just it's such a money-making scheme, which is obviously what the business is about.
And like I said,
but it's not Punk's like aesthetic, and it's not Punk's theme. Yeah.
I mean, you've got Rock and Cena. I mean, yeah, if you have a Rock segment on a show, that's 15 minutes. A Cena is another 15 minutes, and a Punk segment is another 15 minutes. Roman Reigns is another 15 minutes. You've only got half an hour left to put over the rest of the card.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot on that card, you know, and then you talk about people who are fairly over, like, you know, Cody Rhodes, for example, or Jey Uso and the Usos and their story and what's going on. So, yeah, I really don't think they need Punk, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I was just having a quick look. I've just gone straight onto WWE's YouTube channel, and a video from where's it gone? 4 days ago has had 982,000, so just shy of 1 million views, which is simply iconic moment between The Rock and John Cena.
Yeah, man. Oh, mate, that's not the only video they released that week. There's several of The Rock and Cena that they re-released, and they're like 4.2 million views. Like, people are just into that, you know?
Yeah.
Happy Trails Riddle, no talent goof, says Danny. I always enjoyed Riddle. I always enjoyed his style. I always enjoyed the cross between sort of UFC and wrestling. You know, you really want to make some money, get him in AEW and have that match against Goldberg, you know, that they've been promoting for years. It's never going to happen, you know. But
the one thing that I've always pictured with Riddle, as soon as he came to the main roster, was if they did another Scooby-Doo movie, it's the perfect Shaggy.
Oh, it is a perfect Shaggy, isn't it, man?
It's so good, isn't it?
Absolutely perfect Shaggy. Sassy says, hi, Danny. Hey, up, Danny. Thanks for joining us, man. Dolph could give anyone a good match and a great worker with talent. I agree, man. I think he can make anyone look good. Yeah. I say that. There was also that second wave of Black and Gold NXT where Dolph was the gatekeeper for WWE, and what should have been great matches against incredible talents like Nakamura and Robert Roode ended up being really lackluster introductions to the main roster.
Yeah.
Did he do Malachi Black as well? Probably.
I think he did. But yeah, he went through like 4, 5, 6 of them all in a row, all brought from NXT, and lost to all of them.
It wasn't just that he was losing. It was just the fact the matches were what we wanted. You know, Shinsuke had been doing incredible stuff in NXT, and then suddenly he comes up to main roster, and it's like, it's almost like they put Dolph in to teach him how to work the style they want to work. But then they lost a lot of what made them great in NXT, which then people like me and you that was enjoying NXT at the time would end up falling out with WWE for, do you know what I mean? Backing away from the main product even more. Because they were ruining our favorite wrestlers. Vince was changing Shinsuke's theme. What a stupid.
I mean, he changed most things about Nakamura.
Certainly did. Danny says Dolph is another all of the personality of a tomato. I agree. I don't think he was very engaging. I think he was. I think it was pretty boring, actually, his character, and I think that was where Dolph didn't go further. Mind you saying that, I mean, he was WWE champion at one point. I wasn't watching wrestling back then, though, Dan. To me, he was just a sort of has-been 80s rock star, right?
I mean, you could have put him into any glam rock band and it would have fit straight in every time.
Yeah. Do you know who I did enjoy? I enjoyed his feud with Otis. That was the last good thing I thought Dolph did. Do you know the whole Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Otis, Dolph Ziggler thing? It was more Mandy. I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was a really good story. I thought it was really well written. Ending was garbage. But like the follow-ups each week, I was watching that on YouTube. That was...
I'm sure it was the story that you was watching.
No, I'm not a fan of Mandy Rose, although Sonya